In this video, we're going to be covering some of the new features here in Beta Release 4, as there's quite a few. I do want to talk to you about one bug that I did find after I put it all together. It's not that significant, so it won't really bother you as long as you know it exists, and we'll cover that here momentarily. So let's go ahead and begin on our Miscellaneous tab. When we click on our Guidelines tool, up will come our Easy Guides macro. Now this will only be the case if you're using CorelDRAW X6. If for you CorelDRAW X5 users, Easy Guides is not yet compatible. So when you click on the Guidelines button, absolutely nothing will happen. Now, Easy Guides has a lot of different guideline functions that do not exist in CorelDRAW itself. Very useful when you're doing various different design work, and we actually have a couple of videos on different projects where we've used the tools within Easy Guides to give you an example of how you might utilize some of the functions here in Easy Guides. And we'll have more videos later on, but I just want to know that that is something that is now part of EasyStone for you X6 users. X5 users, it's coming, it's just not quite ready yet. So anyhow, we'll close that out. But I do want to show you just kind of a fun little tool. It's kind of a little obscure tool. We're going to use our perfect shaped function here in CorelDRAW and draw out a little heart shape. And what we're going to do is we're going to split this heart into 3 equal parts. So if we hold down the Shift key and click on Guidelines, that will bring up this dialog box where we're going to choose 3 horizontal divisions. We're going to use this Add Split Line function. Again, we're going to show you what all these functions do in future videos. We just want to give you a quick gloss overview. I could spend days probably explaining all the new features, but I won't. So we're just going to cover just some basic functionality, and you can experiment if you want to. But what this will do, if we hit process, it will just split our heart into 3 equal parts. So when I use my Smart Fill tool, because I chose the Add Split Line function, what I can do is I can use my Smart Fill tool and create something like this. Okay, so now we have our heart into 3 equal pieces. And you've probably seen me do some artwork where, you know, I'm creating a flag or whatever the case might be, and I want 3 equal pieces. Well, that's how it's done. So you can see as far as the height it goes, those are exactly identical. And that's because we have that split function now. It's something that I used quite a bit, and I didn't want to have to sit and calculate, so I thought, well, I'll just create a function to split that for us automatically. Alright, so if we right click, like if I let me just add some guidelines here. If we right click on our guideline button, it will get rid of all of our guidelines. So that's it for guidelines. Now let's talk about a feature we added for export vector file. In this example, what we have here is we have 3 different color stones, 3 different sizes, some 6s, 10s, and some 16s. And we're going to select our design, come to the export vector file option, and in here for the first template, we're going to just have it be our SS16 stones. Our second template will be SS10 stones, and our third template will be our SS6 stones. And we're going to choose this option right here to create to cut template. And we're going to export the results rather than to a file. We're just going to override those and choose to the CorelDRAW document. So when I choose export files, it says the to-cut template is in process, and it will output to the CorelDRAW document itself. Alright, now what does that create to-cut template actually do? Well, if you look here, it gives us the original, and then you can see our color separated versions, and this one is our SS16 stones. These are a special template output, special file output, that if you bring it into your LXI cutting software or your Roll and Cut Studio or any other type of cutting software that doesn't have a multi-cut function in it. So the software I use is K&K Studio. It actually has a multi-cut function in it, as does Make the Cut, WinPC Sign, StoneCut Pro. There are many softwares out there nowadays that have a double cut function, but some still don't. So for those of you who don't have that option, that are struggling with weeding your rhinestone templates, this 2-cut template output will be helpful to you. So that's a new function that you find under the export vector file. Now, the other options we have for you are in the font tab. And there's quite a few functions in here that we're pretty excited about. So let's talk about group letters and combine letters. There are times where it is useful for the software to automatically group things together or combine things together, and it is especially true when we're creating fonts, and that's why we put it on the font tab. So when you're looking at this particular font, each stone here is its own separate entity. Okay, when we're exporting a font, the letter Z needs to be one single object. It can be many individual stones like you see here, but we have to combine them into one shape. If we select right now, you can see there's 42 individual shapes, but if I hit the combine tool, you could see now it's just one shape. So what I would have to do if I didn't have Easy Stone, what I would have to do in order to export this font, I would have to go through and select every letter, combine. Select the next letter, combine. Select the next letter, combine. Well, who wants to do that, right? So what we did was we just create a function to do that for us. So we could select all of our letters. And what we're telling Easy Stone here is to say, okay, look at what I have selected. Anything that's closer than 2 millimeters apart, combine. If we look right here at the bottom of CorelDRAW, see where it says we have 1,107 objects selected? Those are all the individual stones of all the individual letters. So if I hit combine letters, watch what happens. So Easy Stone analyzes what I had selected, and now when I select these letters, you can see I have 28 objects selected. But wait a minute, that doesn't make sense because there's only 26 letters in the alphabet. Well, the reason that's happening is because if you look at the letter I here, the space between the top and our letter I is greater than 2 millimeters. So yes, we do have to come in there, combine that. Same thing with our J, combine that. But now each one of our letters are all combined together, so now we can export our font properly. So we would do the same thing with this group. We'll go ahead and choose combine letters. It analyzes all of those, and you can see now we have 26 letters in uppercase. So group works the same way. Sometimes it is useful to group things, and so we give you the option either to group or combine. But when you're exporting your fonts, you have to use the combine option. Okay, so now we could talk about exporting font. In the very first version of Easy Stone that we ever released, we had a function in it where we could create our own typable TrueType fonts. In version 2, we thought, well, maybe it was too much, too confusing. But lately, people have been saying, hey, I want to be able to export a font straight from Easy Stone. How do I do that? And so we put it back in. So there we have our new export font function here. And so we'll show you how this works. When you're creating a font inside CorelDRAW, it has to be done in a certain way. And so the first thing we need to do is if we right-click on Export Font, watch my document change here. So we're going to right-click on Export Font, and you can see how the document changed, right? We have 2 guidelines, and our document has changed to a 10 by 10 document. And then what we're going to do is take our lettering here. I'm just going to do the uppercase for this example. But normally you would do both upper and lowercase at the same time. But I'm just going to make a copy of it. And all I'm going to do, because we have all these letters combined together, we're just going to take the position, our lettering. I could use my arrow keys right down to the baseline of that guideline. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll just hit the L key. and that will line all the left edges up. So they're all lined up. And then if I want to, I could even probably scale this up. You wouldn't necessarily have to do that, but and I'm just going to go ahead and again use my arrow keys to reposition them here. Right back down to the baseline there. Okay? Alright, so now that you have those to the left guideline and to the bottom guideline, now we're going to export font. So we select the whole works and we're going to choose export font, and that will bring up this dialog box which we will enter a value. Now by default it's going to save it to your desktop. So we can I name my fonts with a prefix of EST, and so I don't know, what do we want to call this? We'll call it, I don't know, something creative like sample 1. And we'll choose export font. And then we have to do the same thing here. So EST sample 1. And then we'll go ahead and choose OK. And it shows us the letter, and we just map it. So capital A, B, C, D, E, F. You get tired of me repeating the letters? So we'll go ahead and do this whole alphabet. And you know, it doesn't take that long to do. Thankfully, once we have it made, we only have to do it once. But it is a nice option to have. These, you know, being able to have typable fonts is a nice option. And so to have it right here inside EasyStone again, you know, it's kind of nice to have that option when we want to create our own font. Or if we buy a font that is not typable, then this is how to make it typable. Okay, so now that that's taken care of, what you would do is you would find that font on your desktop and copy it into the Windows font folder. Which brings us to our next nifty little feature, and where there's a bug. So it is in our font finder. This to me is really, really exciting function here inside EasyStone, and we spent better part of 2 weeks in development on this one function, but it actually does quite a few things. So font finder, how does it work? Well, it's really quite interesting. Let me just go ahead and type out a word. So we'll just do baseball, for example. So when you first open up font finder, it's going to list every single font on your computer. So these is every single font that I have listed on my computer. If we click on the Rhinestone font tab, this is every single Rhinestone font that I have installed on my computer. Now, how does it determine what's a Rhinestone font and what's not a Rhinestone font? Every vendor that creates a font has a special prefix. So like our prefix was ES, and we changed it to EST. So that's why you see these two different types here. But then we Rhinestone Alphabets. I bought a few alphabets from Rhinestone Alphabets. So you could see another cool feature when I click on any one of these fonts, you could see it automatically changes and updates. You want to see something else that I think is kind of cool? Is if we click on any one of these fonts and then use our up arrow keys, it automatically changes the font also. So you can just cycle through. If you don't know what a particular font would look like, you could just quickly cycle through and say, oh, there's one that I liked right there. All right. So Rhinestone Alphabets, Rhinestone Templates, they sell fonts. Of course, Synergy 17 sells fonts. TRW, Rhinestone World, they also have fonts. One that's not listed here, only because I don't have any fonts of theirs, is the gal in Australia. that some of her fonts are sold on Synergy's website, and they start with CAG prefix. Now later, because now we have the ability to create a rhinestone font right inside EasyStone, we will have an option for you to be able to add your own custom prefixes. So these are all the vendors that are currently selling rhinestone fonts that I personally know about. But if you want to create your own, or later on another vendor comes along, you'll be able to specify what prefixes you want to consider for rhinestone fonts. So it's a nice option, so we don't have to cycle through all of our fonts. We can cycle through rhinestone font if that's what we want to use. Now here's the bug. Don't click on the favorites tab. There's a bug, and I say that you can click on the favorites tab after you've already defined at least one favorite standard font and one favorite rhinestone font. So for example, up here we can enter a font name, and of course we use College a lot, the College font. So if we just type in College, when you're on the All Fonts tab, it's going to show you any font that matches College. Okay, so here's a very common College slab. We'll go ahead and add that to favorites, and then down here is our EST College 2-inch font. So we'll go ahead and add it to favorites as well. So we've defined at least one rhinestone font. So see, when I switch over to the rhinestone font tab, it shows me all rhinestone fonts that match that College option. So, and then if we click back over here, it shows you all the fonts again. But at any rate, when we switch over here to our favorites tab, you see we're on the standard option. So if we look at all fonts, all of our favorite fonts, or the standard fonts, or rhinestone fonts. And if for some reason we wanted to remove a favorite, like say For My Lover, okay, if I added it to favorites and I later want to get rid of it, we just click on this button right here, and that will remove it from the favorites list. But right now there's a bug, so there has to be at least one standard and at least, see there's the bug, because it doesn't have any rhinestone fonts, so it crashed. So that is one minor issue, but we'll get that fixed in the next go around. So the favorites tab is a little bit buggy at the moment, but at any rate, that is a nice feature to have, to be able to quickly find a font that you're looking for with that font finder tab there. So anyhow, now you know how all of that works, and the little issue that we're having there with the favorites tab. So I will leave it to you to explore, try out that export font feature, the new font finder, prepping your letters with the combined letters, the new export vector file with the 2-cut template option, and the new guideline functions as well. So if you find things that aren't working like they should, please do let us know. That way we can get them addressed. There are a couple other things that we are already aware of that aren't quite working like they should. So we'll address those this next coming week. And I hope you enjoy the new options here in Beta Release 4. Thanks for watching.